Equity is a response to the fact that reality is not equal. There are many people presently in the present world as we stand right now. A lot of the Western world has a great interest in equality, a great interest in equalizing everything, that everyone must have an equal experience in life. And really and truly, some people may not get this, but some of that is actually a kind of Christian ethic, a kind of Christian ideal, where you believe everyone is created equal in the eyes of God and in God's image, so everyone must be treated with that equality. Many people don't have that same belief. Many people throughout the history of humanity didn't share that belief that everyone was equal and everyone should be treated alike. But nonetheless, many people in the modern world at least express that they share that belief. Everyone should be treated equally. The problem is, as you go on with this, there's the equality of opportunity and the equality of outcome. The equality of opportunity being that everyone has an equal chance to get something done. However, what you would realize happening if you reach to the point where everyone does have that equal chance to get something done, you'd realize that some people, because of many other factors, whether it be biological, natural, environmental, their family, their relatives, their last name, their race, their color, various other factors play a part. And even with the equality of opportunity, you see still that variance in the outcomes that happen. So if you give everyone an equal opportunity to run 100 meters of a race, and you have men and women running the same race, generally speaking, you'd notice most men are winning. So the outcomes, you don't see that equalizing even with the equality of opportunity. And if you are looking to get everyone being treated equally, and you have the belief that the outcome all needs to be equal for that to happen, you need to do something more. Probably the most famous internet popular example of the equality versus equity kind of arguments is one where you have three people trying to look over a fence to look at some kind of sport game, and you have a grown man, someone who looks a bit adolescent, teenage, somewhere around there, and a little child. And there are three boxes. So the grown man could see over the fence all well and fine without any boxes. The young person, the adolescent, the teenager, just barely sees at the fence level, while the little child is down low under the fence. Equality of opportunity would mean that you give everyone one box each. Everyone gets that equal opportunity to look over the fence. While equity, the idea of equity, is understanding that the big man doesn't need any boxes, so you give him none. The adolescent, the teenager, he only needs one box to see over the fence. You give him one, and the child needs two boxes to really get that boost. And that's equity. And that's what we're going to talk about today, especially pertaining to Women's Day, because International Women's Day recently passed, and the theme of the day was embracing equity. And seeing some stories coming out from Trinidad and Tobago, I was watching this, and first off, I don't think equity is a good goal, because I don't think it's a goal that is feasible. But even if equity was a good goal, I think we're already missing the mark here in Trinidad and Tobago. We're going to go through these stories and we'll see if I'm right or if I'm a little off the mark with this, and you could tell me that. Drop a comment if you have something to say before we dive into these stories. If you like this kind of content and you'd like to see more of it, make sure to hit that like button. If you are not yet subscribed, please hit the subscribe button also, and the notification bell. You ring that little bell, and hopefully you'll get notifications whenever videos drop on this channel. All right. Senior cop urges other Tobago women be assertive. A senior female police officer assigned to the Tobago Division is urging women on the island to be more assertive. Acting ASP Karen Stewart Duncan made the appeal on Wednesday at the end of a march to commemorate International Women's Day. The march, which featured women from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Fire Service and Airports Authority, began at Tamarind Square and culminated at the Scarborough Library. Asked what would be her advice to women for this year's observance, Stewart Duncan said, "I want to see a more assertive female population." And as for the meaning of assertive, if any of you aren't very sure, assertive basically means forceful, confident. But it's not just the confidence, it's confident with the forcefulness also, that you're putting yourself in the position to do that, which is very interesting. She went on, I'm not saying that we are not assertive here, but that we would step up more. So she is saying that more women should be confident and forceful in their confidence. Okay, it is not by any means saying that we want to take over the men's position, but this year's theme, embracing equity, we want to make sure that everything is done equitably. So women need to step up and stand strong as the women we were created to be. That example to the younger one, Stuart Duncan, claimed women are standing out more than men on the island. And this is where I am starting to get a little confused about this. If you're saying that your aim is for everything to be equitable, equitable generally means that equality of outcome. Okay, so you want the women and men to be in parity. Women and men are around 50-50 in society, so women and men in the police service should be around 50-50. If it's equity we're looking for, women at the senior ranks of the police service should be around 50-50 also. And she's saying that in order for women to be, for everything to be more equitable, women need to be more assertive, more forceful in their confidence. But yet at the same time, she's already saying women are standing out more than men on the island. In fact, even in Trinidad, if we were to have a recruitment drive now, and it's for both males and females, the women will outnumber men. The women outnumber men when it comes to passing the exams. She added, you are seeing where women are stepping forward and the men have literally kind of drawn back. I don't know why that is, but she reiterated, is not to say that we want to take over the men's position. We want to be able to stand to work alongside the men because we were created to work together and we are supposed to be interdependent, not independent of each other. Now, on the interdependence instead of independence, I'd say, well said, ma'am. That's a very traditional, more old-fashioned view of the interplay between the genders, but I don't disagree. Interdependence, I think, works much better. But if you're speaking about they're already standing out. But what is needed is for them to be more forcefully confident. If equity, when we're talking equity, equity is a measure of the ratio between the two, males to females. If this side is females, the females are already surpassing the males. That's what she is saying here. The females are surpassing the males. Yet she's saying what we need is for everything to be equitable. Okay? What's her advice then? Well, for the females to be more assertive, more forceful in their confidence. Now, I am not saying that women should not be assertive or women should not be forceful in their confidence, but I'm wondering if we are saying that we want to push equity more, we want to engage with this equity, we want to look at this equity. Is equity only something that we look at from the female lens? Granted, it is International Women's Day, so that's why they're looking at it from that angle. But I find it kind of interesting that at the same time you're saying what is needed is equity and women need to push forward more, you're kind of admitting that women are already kind of further than some of the men. Now, that's not the only place that I saw some of that. Labour Minister, equal pay glass ceiling not yet broken, which is very interesting. He's saying the equal pay glass ceiling is not yet broken. To me, if he is saying that as the Labour Minister, that sounds like some legislation needs to be put in place. Equal pay for equal work should be a legal thing. I believe it is a legal thing. If you are being paid a different sum for the same amount of work, I think you could carry people to court for that. But the Labour Minister went on. Embracing equity is the theme of this year's International Women's Day, but according to Labour Minister Stephen McClatchy, when it comes to salaries, it is far from equitable. Where women suffer is that we still have the glass ceiling in some places, in many places, that they don't receive equitable pay for the same job as men, he said. According to McClatchy, this occurs mainly in the private sector, as the jobs and pay in the public sector are rated with ranges. Whoever obtains the range gets the pay, he said. In the private sector, banking and so on might pay you on different things because they figure, well, the man has more clout and whatever, but that is mostly in the private sector. In the public sector, you would not find much discrimination there. And I want him to corroborate this with evidence. You are a Minister of Labor. You're coming out here to see the private sector in Trinidad and Tobago is sexist. They pay men more than women for the same level of labor, because that's what the gender gap really is. Here's the reality, and I know many people who may be viewing this, they've heard this before, but the reality is the gender pay gap in the Western world is for the most part a hoax. It has been debunked, because yes, there is a gender pay gap. There's a gender pay gap that exists, but it exists when you look at all the men and all the women. If you look at all the men in work, all the men out there working, and all the women out there working, and you compare their salaries, men make more than women. But that's because men work longer hours, men work more dangerous jobs, men are more willing to move for their jobs. There are a whole long list of reasons why men generally make more in most jobs, and it doesn't have to do with sexism. So for him to make this accusation here, if that is true in Trinidad and Tobago, I'd like to see where the evidence for that is. Is there any evidence to prove that the private sector in Trinidad and Tobago is sexist in their pay? And the reason he is saying is because they figure, well, the man has more clout and whatever. I don't know. Where's your evidence of that? If it is a matter of clout, and they saw that this man has 30 years experience in this area and he has been at this and that high level company, then they will pay him more because he has more experience. If you are calling clout experience, well, then clout should be paid more. That's something that is measurable, if that's what you're referring to as clout. He went on though, however, positive things are happening regarding women in the workplace. Minister McClatchy quoted a recent survey conducted by the Inter-American Development Bank, which showed that TNT is leading the way regionally in terms of women in management positions. We have a very high percentage of women in our workforce that are managerial in comparison to the rest of Latin America and so on. In fact, our women are over 60% at managerial positions, whereas in the rest of the region, it is more like 30% and so on. And can someone explain this to me then? If you're saying that in the private sector, they're employing the men because they believe the men have more clout, but yet you're saying in a survey they found that women are over 60% of managerial level. What are you telling me? Where's the evidence to say that in Trinidad there's sexism on that side, when it seems to me that there's more of a lean on the female side? They are hiring more women for managerial jobs in Trinidad and Tobago. So if we're looking at equity, if we're embracing equity here, wouldn't it be that we're trying to hire more men in managerial portfolios now? Shouldn't that be the case, that managers now should have a quota? And well, actually, sorry young lady, sorry ma'am, sorry woman, we aren't looking for a female in this position right now because we are embracing equity. And in order to be equitable, we must hire more men. We have too many women in these managerial positions right now. So we are only looking for males right now. My apologies, ma'am. Should that be the case? He added that there isn't much more related data available to the ministry. He's saying there isn't more related data available to the ministry, while previously he was saying that there is some kind of glass ceiling with the gender pay gap. Okay. Minister McClatchy said a promising sign is the number of women obtaining advanced degrees now surpasses men. Why is that a promise? I do not understand this. Somebody needs to explain this to me. We're embracing equity, but it's a promising sign that more women are getting advanced degrees than men. Shouldn't it be a promising sign that they are equitable, that they are the same, that it's 50-50? How is it a promising sign when we are getting less men going into those advanced degrees than women? What makes that promising? What makes that equitable? The women in Trinidad and Tobago are quickly surpassing men in the workplace, given that they now occupy a significantly higher status in terms of education and so on. He also highlighted that most permanent secretaries and deputy permanent secretaries are women. We have come a long way, and our women are showing that they are capable, that they have the experience, and that they can manage at all levels. And we can look forward to more women in higher spaces making major contributions to our national development, he said. Here's where I see this. I disagree with equity. I disagree with equity because it sounds simple when you look at it as the three people, the man, the teenager, and the little child, looking at the sports game over the fence. That sounds simple. But in life, that's not actually how most of those situations pan out. What would end up having to happen here is someone has to decide, where do the boxes come from? Okay, let's say the man made all three boxes. So you have the three people standing at the fence trying to look over the fence. The grown man made all three boxes. In order for the little child to see over, they need two. In order for the teenager to see over, they need one. But the man made all three. The boxes belong to him. In order for there to be equity, according to that equity kind of view, you need to share out those three boxes. Who takes the boxes from the man in order to give them to the other people? Who decides that? And as I was saying, when you're looking at a fence, that seems all simple and reasonable. The crowd of people behind them would be like, oh gosh, man, just share the boxes with the people. We're all going to view. Fine. But in society, when it's not boxes and sports games we're talking about here, you're talking about jobs, you're talking about money, you're talking about salaries. Who decides where equity is going to be? There's a problem that many modern day feminists have stumbled upon a little while now, and it's the creation of the intersectional feminist. Because when you want to make things equitable, you recognize that, okay, even if we make it 50-50 on the male versus female realm, well, there's race involved too. So we have to balance it not only on male and female, but on black and white race, and well, Indo in Trinidad and Tobago, and mixed also. And then there isn't only the racial aspect, there's the economical aspect, the class aspect, where some people may be in a higher class in society while some people may be in lower classes in society. So there are intersections between these different identities. Your gender, your race, your class, all of them intersect. And if we are trying to make an equitable society, we have to now find a way to balance all of these intersections. And who is good enough? Who is the person that knows well enough how to balance all of these various identities? Who is to say when equity would be? Who is to say that, okay, well, now that the women are surpassing the men, now we need to slow down how many women and push men a little further? Or is someone to say, well, actually what equity would mean is we need 75% women and 25% men? That would actually be equitable. Who decides this? That's why I think, and I always, well, not always, but I regularly say that equity is an impossible goal and an impractical goal. It's impossible because there's no way for us to actually balance all of those intersecting identities for it to perfectly all balance out and everyone gets their equal spot in society. There's nothing as such. There's no way. No one can do that. It's impossible. And it's not only impossible, but actually a bad goal for society, because when you attempt to do things like that, what you inevitably end up doing is hurting people. Here's what kind of needs to happen for that to work. In a society, and this is happening in the United States colleges right now, in order for equal races, the races you want all the races to be shown to be equally represented in the university, in the college. However, in the Asian culture, they focus more on their schoolwork. They are more serious about it. So more Asian families, a higher ratio, a higher proportion of Asian families are going to do better in their schoolwork. In order for it to be equitable now, what actually happens is you need to punish the Asians. The Asians actually need to get 100% better than the black people need to get in order to get the very same position in the very same college. It makes the system actually unfair now. For these individual Asian students, they now need to work extra hard because of equity. And that's what equity does. I think what we need is equality. the equality of opportunity and recognize that reality isn't actually equal. That taller people, if you're a giraffe, you're going to reach the leaves on the highest trees, while if you're a little short goat, you cannot reach those leaves. That's just reality. And what we need to do is not inhibit the giraffe from reaching the tall leaves, or try to make the goat into a giraffe, or cut off the giraffe's neck so it becomes a goat. No, we recognize the differences and we understand that people are equal in terms of value, in terms of human level value, but they would never be equal in terms of what they produce, their abilities, their capabilities. That's my view on it. And that's how I think the idea of embracing equity may actually be a bit misguided. Nonetheless, happy International Women's Day to all the women out there. That's all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. If you have something to say, drop a comment and tell me what you think, and I will see you in the next video.